I recently finished reading The Hunger Games for the first time, and by recently, I mean literally 12 hours ago. But I really enjoyed immersing myself in Suzanne Collins's post-apocalyptic world, and I couldn't help but draw many parallels between the Capitol and our current ruling power structures, which I'm sure was intentional on her part. The entire book is great, but one sentence in particular really stood out to me, and it's the topic of this week's podcast. The sentence was, "Destroying things is much easier than making them." When a scandal occurs in a social or political institution, we're often met with a chorus of voices urging us to burn it all down. Rarely are we presented with a path forward after the destruction, though. Everyone wants to be a revolutionary, but no one wants to build a phoenix from the ashes. This is understandable, of course. For one thing, we're often much more critical of new solutions than we are of the status quo. Because people are comfortable with the devils they know, we hold people who try to build new things to an almost impossible standard, and we take any missteps or setbacks as evidence that our current way of living is the only way that works. We're also constantly bombarded with propaganda from people with a vested interest in keeping the status quo, aimed at convincing us that everything is fine, actually, and that any attempts to change or improve our society are an attack on personal freedom. Any flaws of the current system are waved away as unavoidable facts of life, while flaws of proposed new systems are taken as evidence that those systems are objectively untenable, which is ridiculous, by the way. I have a tattoo on my left forearm that reads, "Imagine better than the best you know." And I realize that our imaginations are often constrained by the societies we live in. I mean, many people can't picture a world that isn't a capitalist oligarchy masquerading as a democracy, and they dismiss any alternative as unrealistic or against human nature, which isn't even true. In some places, our collective imagination is so stifled that we can't even envision a planet where every person has equitable access to food and shelter without some apocalyptic economic crash happening as a result. How sad is that? Especially when the economy is literally made up. Like, come on. I've been thinking about what makes a good life in general and also what I want my own life to amount to. And aside from my own personal bucket list, like traveling more, becoming a published novelist, and spending more time with friends, I also have a vision for what I want to offer my community. We all have something unique to contribute, and I personally think the best thing that I can do is expand our collective imagination through my writing and also through this podcast. I really want to inspire people to build, not just destroy. So if even one person sees a new possibility for living after reading a newsletter or an article or a novel that I wrote or listening to a podcast episode, then I'll have done my job. Sometimes destruction is a natural part of the building process. Structures that can't be mended have to be replaced completely, and that's life. But when we have a clear blueprint for what we're building, we can move past the destruction phase with intention. When we destroy for the sake of destruction without having an idea of what's next, we end up stuck in a pile of rubble. I don't have all the answers. I just know that I'm tired of all the pessimism. I'm tired of all the negativity. And it's not to say that we can't talk about negative things because obviously life isn't rainbows and butterflies. I'm not delusional. But I would like to see us focus more on what we want to build, what we want to see. Of course, in building that, we might have to dismantle certain things, but I think it's easier to move forward when you have a plan of action and not a plan of destruction. So cheers to imagining better than the best you know. Yours in hope, Mina.